A midnight airport lounge promise on the boarding pass. The airport at midnight has its own jurisdiction. Gates yawn like tired mouths, duty-free smells of perfume that pretends to forgive, and the floor crews hum their machines like priests rehearsing a service. I slid my phone face down into my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home, and scanned a temporary pass at the frosted glass door of the lounge. Inside, the air was warm with expensive electricity. Leather chairs dozed. A bartender wiped glasses with the care of someone who knows too much. Back home, Daniel had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means please stay now. Our couch is a witness stand. If we sit at opposite ends long enough, it swears us in and demands perjury fees. I left before arguments put on robes. On the walkway to Concourse C, my screen lit with a message from L. Lucian in my contacts, L in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. Lounge, gate 47, just talk. He didn't add an exclamation point. He never does. By day, I smooth other people's paragraphs for a consultancy that thinks clarity can buy loyalty. By night, I try not to turn my own sentences into weapons. Daniel and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't drift. Lucian re-entered orbit 2 months ago when I flew to Berlin for a client, and he sat across the aisle in a shirt that had not earned the right to be that careless. He's a pilot who doesn't fly anymore, a consultant for routes and schedules. His laugh sounds like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. He was waiting at a corner table, sleeves pushed, collar unpunished, jacket folded neatly beside a glass of water he hadn't touched. A boarding pass lay in front of him like a dare. He looked up, and the lamp overhead did that partial thing lamps do when they can't decide whose side they're on. "You came," he said, "because grown men never tire of pretending arrival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My badge, your restraint." "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He set the boarding pass on the table, flipped it blank side up, and slid a pen across. "3 words," he said. "Why are you here?" 3 words is cruel. That's why they work. He gestured at the silence around us. No speeches in a lounge. They stain the upholstery. I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the ink as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps during training, and fell away like the bar had filed a complaint. "Does he know?" Lucian asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. A flight announcement murmured about delays as if timing were optional. Lucian leaned closer, heat arriving before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. "Tell me no," he said softly, the most indecent sentence he knows. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and the idea of citrus. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've learned not to hate when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Airports punish speed with suspicion. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the line behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second. "Do you swear?" Then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled into my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because glass prefers prose. A departure board blinked another delay like an alibi. "We already cheated," he said when breath remembered its job. "We cheated the first night we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home." "I know," I said, and a cart of bottled water rattled past as if to underline it. He folded the boarding pass and slid it into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once and chose not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. "I booked a day room at the Airside Hotel," he said, not triumphant. "Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at the window and not touch for 60 seconds to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest." "I'm tired of being clever," I said. "Clever, a connection," he said. "Looks neat on paper, collapses in weather. Accurate is direct." He reached into his jacket and produced a novelty magnet shaped like a tiny airplane, ridiculous and perfect, and pressed it into my palm. "For your fridge," he said. "Cold helps letters behave." We sat while boarding groups were called for flights neither of us intended to take. He showed me the new gate assignments on his tablet, the hidden choreography behind delays. "Every change has a story," he said. "Weather in Madrid, crew in Toronto, a drunk in Omaha. They all land here eventually." "Like us?" I asked. "Exactly like us," he said, not smiling. When I left, the security lane was empty enough to echo. The crosswalk home gave me time. I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. Daniel sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people about to fix things. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the space beside him. I sat. "Do you want to be asked?" he said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. "Please," I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. "Are you lonely?" "Some nights," I said. "Not here. Not when you ask first. Not when the kettle outruns the reasons." I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and decided to believe me. "I feel useful," he said. "I want to be wanted before I'm useful." "Tonight's procedure," I said. "Touch first, argue second, report later." The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He poured water over mint. We called it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the folded boarding pass beneath the airplane magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Daniel read the ink and his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the magnet, "Tomorrow, keep the torque." He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says airport and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. 5 words when 5 are enough. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Try to want what we promised, and when we don't, write 3 words on small paper and tell the room where we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The pass in my pocket learned the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late tram, I drafted messages to no one that began "I didn't ask" because I thought that counted as kindness and ended "May your breakfast go right." I didn't send them. The not sending felt like a skill borrowed from air traffic. Hold, circle, wait. A week later, afternoon tried to be a test. A client wanted adventure without cost. The sky rehearsed thunder. I walked past the terminal and bought nothing. I left a bottle of water on a bench with a note, "For whoever is waiting for a sister." A cleaner gave me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slipped a blank baggage tag into my pocket and wrote "Turn" toward your name across the clean side. I didn't light anything. Lucian and I adjusted our grammar. Fewer messages. No hotel windows with curtains pretending to absolve. If we failed quieter. If we stopped without applause. Still, we orbited. He sent a photo of a gate screen where my initials hid in the code for Madrid. I replied with steam curling over 2 mugs and Daniel's unshowy script under the magnet, torque. We flirted by flight codes. We confessed by schedules. One evening a storm closed half the runways. Lucian texted, "Crews stranded, system down, need hands, bring nothing breakable." I was 3 blocks away and too willing. We shuffled chairs, reset screens, pleaded with departure boards. When the chaos subsided, he leaned against a counter with the posture of a man who has stopped negotiating with mercy. He kissed me by the frosted glass, hunger quiet but exact. My back found the cool pain, his hand found my hip. Somewhere a loudspeaker apologized to the wrong passengers. We didn't rush. We mapped mercy with our mouths and rehearsal with our hands. His palm slipped under my shirt and paused, "Do you swear?" Then moved only as far as the better version of me allowed. I bracketed him with a grip he could leave without proving anything. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because terminals echo. "We're bad at quitting," he said against my throat. "We're good at failing differently," I said into his collar. He rested his forehead on mine and exhaled the smallest truth. "Text me a weather report in the morning. Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I said, "when we let it." Daniel met me at home with the posture of a question he had decided not to sharpen. He asked, "Hungry?" without turning it into a trial. We ate toast like it had been newly invented. After, he wrote under the magnet, "Ask before leaving." I wrote, "Hold me first." We signed it with our names, absurd and effective. On a Tuesday that felt unromantic enough to be useful, I told him the inventory. Lucian's name, the lounge, the fence I kept bragging about by leaning on it. He didn't perform sainthood or exile. He said, "Stay while you learn the thing you say you want to learn, but don't make me a gate you pass through to somewhere else." Breakfast became a place with rules. No phones at the table. No rehearsed cruelty before coffee. No pretending tomorrow is a closet where tonight can hang unexamined. I turned the boarding pass over and wrote 3 new words in morning handwriting that looked like it had slept. "Choose the hard." Daniel watched me write and didn't ask for a receipt. We shrank the orbit. Fewer lounges. No doors that click from the inside. Lucian sent a still of an empty gate at midnight, captioned "Stayed." I hearted it and didn't go. He hearted the heart and let it sit there unclaimed. Sometimes Daniel asks whether Lucian made me feel seen. I tell him yes, and that being seen isn't the same as being kept. He nods like a map allowing a road to be closed without deleting it. Some nights he places my hand on his chest and says weather, and I answer with steam and minutes, and the way my mouth can choose his shoulder before it chooses an argument. We fail and fail differently and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand under fluorescent timetables pretending to know which boarding call will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. I still carry the boarding pass in my left pocket. It warms against my thigh like a small, unlicensed gravity, heavier than paper has any right to be. Proud at breakfast. Touch before arguing. Choose the hard. None of it is noble. All of it is procedural, like flight plans. Filed, checked, sometimes ignored, always binding when the weather insists. Outside, planes lift like stubborn confessions. Inside, our kitchen hums a modest hymn. Daniel leans against the counter and asks, "Are you staying?" without making it a trap. "I'm trying to want what I promised," I say. "Help me make more minutes where that's easy." He nods, writes on a card, "Read me closely." I write beneath, "Handle with care." We pin it under the airplane magnet, ridiculous and effective. And when we say tomorrow out loud, it means only what we let it mean.